My dad was in hospice for 2 years. At the beginning of those 2 years, when the prognosis was that he was going to die in a month, I paused my life in Boulder, and I went to Ohio to be with him until he died. It was a blessed and sacred time. I loved every moment I got to be with my dad. I was 100% clear that there was no place else I wanted to be other than by his side. And I wanted to be with him through the transition, and I wanted to be with him when he died. I had a conversation with him, and I said, Dad, what do you think? What's next? Where are you going after this? And he responded as if it was an irrelevant question. He said, I don't know. And then he said, I believe I will simply cease to exist, but I don't know. My dad was a preacher. He was not a pious preacher. His work was about serving justice, and that's what he did. He committed his life to serving social justice. And so I don't know was a good answer for him. So this spring, when he started to decline more quickly and it became clear that the end was near, it was getting hard on my mom, care for him, and we started talking about putting him in a care center. But my sisters organized that we would each spend a week there. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, we would make a plan and figure out what needed to happen. So I was pretty certain it wasn't going to come to that. I was certain that Julie would have a week, and KK would have a week, and I would have a week, and then my dad would die, and we would all marvel at the perfection of it all. So when my sister was there for the first week, she reported these incredible conversations. She would sit with my dad, and she was the only person in the room with him, but he was conducting these meetings. He was conducting meetings and facilitating discussions in the room, and one day he was on a train insisting that she let him off the train. And I said, tell him not to get off the train until I come. I'm coming. The second week, my second sister was there, and he started to decline even more, and he was much less responsive. And still, I didn't decide to go because I knew I had my week. My week was coming, and my plan was that he was going to die at the end of my week. And I knew I would be needed on the other end of those 3 weeks, so I didn't go. But on Tuesday of that week, I got a text in the early morning from my sister that said the nurse was here, we had a hard night. She thinks Dad will die within the next 48 hours. So on a dime, I packed my bag and I booked a flight and I got on the bus and I got to the airport. I had this image of my dad whenever he would come to see me or come to meet me or come when I called because I needed help, he would come running with his trench coat behind him and his heart 10 feet in front of him. And he would scoop me up and embrace me. So here I was going home to see my dad for the last time alive, and my trench coat was behind me and my heart was 10 feet in front of me. And I was saying, hold on, Dad, I'm on my way. On the way, I get another text saying, no, it looks more like 12 hours. The nurse says it's more like 12 hours. So my heart went even further out in front of me. When I landed at the airport, I texted my sister, and I told her I'm here. I said, I'll be home in 40 minutes. When I got home, I walked into the house, which was quiet, and I went into the room where we had spent so much time over the last 2 years being with my dad. And the room was quiet, and the windows were open, and the afternoon breeze was moving in, and the whole family was gathered around my dad. I was the last one to arrive. My mother and sister were sitting by my dad's bed holding him. And my sister said, Joe, Dad passed about 40 minutes ago. She had told him, she said to him, Jojo, when I texted her, she said, Jojo, Dad's landed. Or she said, Dad, Jojo's landed. She's here. And then a couple minutes later, he died. So when I got there, I crawled into bed with him. And I held him. And I stayed there for several hours. His body was warm, and I kept his body warm. And I knew he was still in the room. I knew he was still there, and I knew he knew I was there. And I knew he waited as long as he possibly could for me to arrive. We went into then some extraordinary days of the family being together. And when I got back to Boulder was when the grief hit really hard. It hit really hard, and at that point I had a lot of the grief pinned on the fact that I was late for my dad's death. I missed it. After all the time I had spent there and the commitment I had to be with him and be near him, I missed it. I wasn't there. And I missed those last weeks of his life. And it felt wrong. It felt wrong, and it felt, the grief was just like, what made it hard was that conversation, the cease to exist conversation, because it was just like, I had felt comfort being with my dad, knowing that he was still there and that he knew I was there. But then it just like hit me, what if he wasn't? What if I was late and he was gone? What if he just ceased to exist? And this possibility was terrifying. It shook me to the bone, the possibility that my dad was nowhere. But then I remembered the other part of the conversation, the I don't know. I don't know. And I could hear my dad on the couch pontificating, which he was prone to do. Pontificating about mystery and metaphor. These were the words I hear him speak over and over again, mystery and metaphor. And I could hear him in his southern drawl speak about God isn't out there somewhere. God is the mystery. The sacred is what surrounds us in the mystery. God is the mystery which causes us to tremble and which fascinates us, and which we do not have the capacity to comprehend. And these words, for the first time, I heard them. I got them. I had been hearing him talk about this for years, the mystery, and I thought I understood the mystery. But here I was, in the middle of the terror, the depth of the terror, and the trembling and the fascination of the mystery of being human. And right there in the center of I don't know, I found my dad. I was like, there he is. Oh, right there. And I got it. Right there I was in the center of the mystery. And what a gift my dad gave me. I don't know.